Give me a second.
And of course, they'll be muted until it's their time to.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining the Town Council meeting. Jasmine, Elizabeth, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Ms.
Thank
Rock,
you.
can you hear us?
She has
Ms.
mute.
Rock?
I'm sending her a message.
All right.
Okay, and are you ready?
I didn't know if we were in front of this meeting.
So we're ready to start the meeting. And just for the record, this meeting will be recorded. Thank you. Go ahead, sir.
All right. Just keep in mind, if you guys aren't talking or engaging in the conversation, if you can please have your mics muted. That way we don't get any feedback off of the room. This is a regular town council meeting. It is October 28, 2020. We are starting the meeting at 6:39 p.m. This is a duly called regular council meeting of the town of Anthony, Texas, posted in accordance with section 551.002 and 551.041 of the Open Meetings Act of the Texas Government Code. Public participation during the portion of the agenda for public comment is limited to that portion only, except that if a citizen's comments relate to a topic or subject covered under an agenda item, the citizen shall then wait to speak until the agenda item comes up for discussion. And at all other times during the council meeting, the audience shall not enter into discussion or debate on matters being considered by the presiding officer. Ms. Norma, can we please do a quorum check, please?
Yes, sir. Councilman Alfaro?
Here.
Councilman Garcia?
Here.
Councilman Garcia?
I'm here.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Weeks?
I'm here. Sorry.
Thank you, sir. And Mayor Romero. We
Yes,
have
ma'am.
Councilman Chavez absent. Thank you, sir. We have a quorum.
Awesome, thank you. Open forum for the public limited to 2 minutes. Ms. Norma, do we have any signed up for public comment that is not part of any of the agenda items tonight?
Nobody that's not part of the agenda item, sir. We do have Mr. Robert Lopez trying to join the meeting, but he's going to be speaking on the last one, item number 5. We have Ms. Carol Runk, but she will be speaking on item number 4. And we have Elizabeth O'Hara and Jasmine King with speaking and presentation 1.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good. So let the record reflect, aside from the individuals that have signed up to speak on the specific agenda items, we don't have anybody else signed up for open forum. Moving on to, give me 1 second. Moving on to item 5, review and action on minutes of regular council meeting, October 12, 2020. Do we have any comments from council? Do I have a motion on the table?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Weeks, seconded by Councilman Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Item 6, review and action on minutes of regular council meeting, June 22nd, 2020. Any comments or a motion on the table?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Councilman Weeks, seconded by Councilman Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Moving on to item 7. We've got discussion, consideration, and action on the following new business. Item 1, presentation by Texas Gas Service Company on Texas Gas Service's initial rate filing for a conservation adjustment clause tariff related to Texas Gas Service Company's proposed energy efficiency program, presented by Ms. Norma Gonzalez, Ms. O'Hara. And basically, she'll be the one presenting this item. So the floor is all yours, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Yes, my name is Elizabeth O'Hara. I am the Community Relations State Manager for Texas Gas Service, where I have worked for the last 1.5 years. Prior to that, I had a very long media career, and so I am a lifelong El Pasoan, where I have been for the bulk of my professional life. And while it was noted that I would be doing the bulk of the presentation, I'd actually like the opportunity, if it's possible, and I don't know if I need permission to do this, to have Jasmine King Bush be the presenter for this evening. She is the head of our energy efficiency program and based out of our Austin, Texas office. So would that be amenable to you, Mayor, and to the council? Okay. Well, with that being the case, I guess I'll serve it up to Jasmine. Jasmine, you're on mute.
How's that? Okay. Thank you so much for allowing us to be on the agenda, and I'll share my screen and start the presentation. Can you all see that okay?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
perfect. Okay, perfect. Let's see here. So, as Liz introduced me, I am the Energy Efficiency Program Supervisor for the Texas Gas Service Energy Efficiency Program in the Central Texas area and in the Rio Grande Valley area, and as proposed would be for the El Paso area as well. Texas Gas has had a long history in the central area for administering a program. We've had a program in existence in various phases for about 20 years. Currently, we're serving about 230,000 customers. And in the Central Texas area, we provide education about conservation behavior, efforts that can be made by both residential and commercial customers, and incentivizing and rebating those behaviors. About 4 years ago, we launched a program in the Rio Grande Valley, and this year actually is what I keep calling the banner year. We have seen excellent participation, and at about 80% of the year, we are almost 90% spent on the budget. We have been receiving requests from customers and community organizations alike to do more presentations and provide more information on the program and socialize the idea of its existence even more. So when we looked at we had a conversation with members from the Office of Sustainability about the climate plan that had been, I guess, discussed and kind of agreed upon a few years ago, and this year really putting into action those goals in the city of El Paso. We looked at what we could do to help that area meet their goals, and then also as the surrounding areas, looking at it as a whole and seeing what we can do to help promote conservation and energy efficiency in that area. And we put together kind of a hybrid of what's in Central Texas and what's in Rio Grande Valley, and that is how we have come up with the West Texas Included Areas program proposal. We are and have filed as of October 15th an intention to launch a program in the included cities of Anthony, Clint, El Paso, Horizon City, San Elizario, Socorro, and Vinton. The program is consistent of 3 arms. The first arm is a residential arm. In that residential arm, there are retrofit programs and incentives for people that are already owning their home, but they want to upgrade their natural gas appliances. And then we also have a new construction component to the residential arm, and that's where we partner with builders or new home buyers who are looking to be incentivized as a builder to build with natural gas, or as a new homeowner to buy a home with natural gas appliances, and looking to find ways to be what I called earlier a good climate citizen. Those programs incentivize dryers, dryer stubs, furnace tune-ups. We have annual furnace tune-ups rebates right now in the 2 areas where we're currently operating. We also have range and range stubs, Wi-Fi or smart thermostats, and then high efficiency and also tankless natural gas water heater. We have rebates and incentives for all of these appliances. We also offer a residential water conservation kit, and the goal of this kit is really to help conserve natural gas energy by requiring less heating of water, but also to help conserve water. And I believe that that is something that's near and dear to this area's heart, is looking for ways to conserve water. So we're hoping that through educating customers on how to make small changes in their home will yield big benefits. This has been a great program in the Central Texas and Rio Grande Valley area. We're hoping that it would be the same in the included cities in the West Texas area. One of the things that I really like about this program specifically is that you can be a landlord, or you can be a tenant, or you can live in your home and just be the homeowner. You don't have to have specific ownership to participate in this program. You can request a water kit. It's sent out to you. And we look at about a savings of 2,900 gallons of water per year. And bathroom sinks that have the aerators installed, they can save about 700 gallons of water per year.
Jasmine, if I can just jump in here to share with council and mayor as well. This particularly was something that I was interested in as somebody from El Paso, and talking with my counterpart there in Austin, especially as we were going through an incredibly hot summer, and we were starting to see, and you may have also seen in the El Paso Times, the reporting coming out of El Paso Water, which is having major concerns about the amount of water that we have in our Bolson, as well as out at the, what's it called, up in TRC, and whether or not we were going to have a good enough snowfall and whether that was going to impact water. So we know moving forward, even though we are a gas company, that getting together with our sister utility is going to be very important. And this was something we thought would be a major driver. So I just wanted to offer that up.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you. Moving on to the low income and free equipment program. This is a program that really allows us to serve the community. So right now, the way it's structured is communities that have households that need appliance repair or replacement, and even some cases, like with a water heater, even the surrounding area. So if it needs a new water closet, if they're installing a gas range, they can go through community partners that we work with. In the Central Texas area, the largest partner we work with is Meals on Wheels. We also work with the county agencies down in the Rio Grande Valley. They vet them as low income, and they refer them to us. We dispatch a contractor. We have a system of contractors that we refer to, and they go out and do the work, and we pay them directly. And in turn, not only do they have a safer environment, but they're also saving money on their bills because they have more efficient natural gas appliances. This program has done very, very well in both areas. And for me personally, it has allowed me to connect with the community a little more. I really appreciate having that opportunity to serve.
In the case of Texas Gas here in El Paso in this proposed program, I want to go ahead and let you also know that with regards to that, we already work with Project Bravo on another program that we would basically use as the template to vet these customers. So this would not be a long runway that is needed in order to immediately begin to assist these customers. We essentially would just use that same program that we use with Project Bravo, which is doing LOHEAP distribution, which is the low income home energy, help me, low income
Home
Thank you.
energy assistance program.
Assistance program. Thank you. I had the wrong word in my head. Assistance program, and just use that to make that kind of a ready to use program.
Thank you. So see, this is why I need Liz, because she has been such a gem. I am housed in the Austin area, and until the outside became a little dangerous, I was very much planning to come to El Paso. So I'm looking forward to that when the outside opens up. So the other area of the program is the commercial program, and this is where we work with small, medium, large businesses who are looking to find ways to either reduce their bills, reduce their energy consumption, water consumption, or looking to just make some improvement to their appliances. We have two ways to do this. We contract with a company that goes out and does work at no cost to the recipient. It is funded by the program as a whole, and they go in and they change out aerators, they change out spray valves, they go in and install weather stripping, and they usually take 2 to 3 weeks full of appointments, and they go and they handle all the customers at once, and they make sure that everybody is taken care of. They send the bill directly to the program. The other way for commercial customers to participate is to install a system, a qualifying natural gas system, install an appliance that qualifies as high energy efficiency, and to submit the receipts for that for rebating by our office. We process that and send that payment directly to them. And this is open to commercial customers, commercial air conditioning customers, as well as commercial transport customers. And the commercial customers can also, if they're looking to convert to natural gas vehicles or install a refueling station, there's also incentives and rebates available for that as well. The way we look to socialize the program and spread information is through the use of our educational outreach. So we utilized bill inserts, we send out newsletters, we have what are called e-blasts, we utilize social media engagement, we partner with big box retailers like your Home Depots, your Best Buys, but we also look for small mom and pop retailers that we can partner with too that may be offering natural gas equipment that we can provide promotions to and partner with them. But we also, when able, are out in the community. That's kind of where we shine. Talking to our customers and potential customers, explaining to them how to look at their bill, how to understand their bill, what to look at for reducing usage, how to find a trend. We have usage calculator estimators on our website, and all of this is our components of the educational outreach portion. Right now, we're preparing a winter tips, a newsletter that we're going to send out where we're talking about things like cleaning out your dryer trap, looking at ways to make sure that your hot water is at the temperature that's not burning too much energy, but also providing you with hot water. And these are things that we do regularly. To give you an idea of what the proposed budget versus the proposed participation looks like, we have a total proposed budget of $2.275 million. That's a huge number. Where is that money going? 48% of that we're estimating will be used by our residential customers. In that residential bucket is the group of existing homeowners, as well as builders and or buyers, and that's through the new construction program. We're looking at about 10% usage of commercial. So commercial customers don't tend to replace their appliances as much. Of course, we know that that can be more costly on a commercial scale, and so we see a lower usage of that, but we do still see some participation, especially when it comes to working with that third-party vendor. A lot of schools and hotels motels, things like that use the weather stripping and the shower aerator components of that commercial program. About 14% of that we're expecting to be used by low-income households. And that includes the purchase of appliances as well as the labor for the installation. 14% of that would be for education and outreach, and that would cover all of the efforts that I listed before, as well as any type of organizations that we need to join so that we can make sure that we're partnering with all of the advocates as well as change makers in the community to make sure that we are hearing what the community needs and are adjusting and responding accordingly. Another 14% of that is administration. So I have submitted a proposal that includes hiring 2 staff members in the El Paso area. My goal is to hire someone from El Paso who's familiar with El Paso. One person would be the community outreach specialist, someone who knows the neighborhoods and the people and the employers. And then the other person would be what I call a technical specialist, and that person would be integral to the low-income program. That person does drive-by inspections on the work that's needed before it's done. They also go by and look at the contractor's work once it's completed to make sure that it's quality work, make sure that the customer's need is met, and they kind of have a little brief conversation with the customers to make sure that they're satisfied. This budget would be funded by a fixed monthly rate of 0.73% per month per residential household. Or if they're a commercial customer, commercial customers are billed volumetrically. There's a measurement, CCF. So they would be charged 0.0067 per CCF of usage. Someone asked me from the city of El Paso, they said, well, what does that look like for the smaller companies, the mom and pop shops that have a small restaurant? So I did some research, and between October and April, we had just over 1,000 commercial customers who used 10 CCFs or less. And that equated to 0.067 on their bill per month. So if that kind of draws a picture for you of what the proposed bill impact would be.
And Jasmine, can I just
sure.
ask you to make one point?
Yes.
Could you please talk about this being a standalone budget, that
yes.
this is not a revenue generator for Texas Gas Service?
Absolutely. So one of the nuances to this program is that it's kind of a company within a company. So all of the funding from this program comes from the contribution from the customer bills, the residential and commercial bills. These funds stay in the program. They do not go to revenue or to the bottom line for the corporation. And that actually has some pluses. We are able to do some things that are would probably be considered more grassroots, and we have a little more leverage to work within the community than the company would have at large. So this program does not generate any revenue for the program. For the company at large, it stays within the program and goes right back out to either educating people about the program, putting the program on, or right back into the pockets of those who have contributed to it.
I think it's also important to note that if the money does not get expensed, it can roll over.
Yes.
It's not a use it or lose it kind of program.
Yes, that is true. Yes. So just to look at some of the achievements that 2019 brought us with the program in Central Texas and Rio Grande Valley. In 2019, a total of $2.4 million was returned to customers through rebates and incentives. Over 240 free new natural gas appliances were installed for low-income families. Over 8,000 residential rebates were issued. We sent out over 2,600 residential water conservation kits. And through the installation of new natural gas appliances, we have a lifetime of the appliance expectation that we're reducing carbon emissions by 78 million pounds. And we're expecting over 140 million gallons of water savings. And the calculation for savings versus investment in a new appliance, for every dollar spent on a new natural gas appliance or system, customers receive $1.35 in benefits, and the benefits is either rebate, incentive, or savings in their gas bill. So with each program, we look to see how the area that it's serving can benefit. So for the El Paso and the included cities, Anthony, Clint, San Elizario, Benton, Socorro, and Horizon City, we're looking to have customers be more aware of how to own their natural gas usage, how new appliances or smart use of their existing appliance can reduce their consumption and their bills. We're looking to provide income to assistance to low-income families. We're also hoping that smarter usage of their natural gas appliances and incentivized use of natural gas appliances will help reduce some of the load on the electrical grid there and reduce strain during the summer peaks. And then also just the promotion of clean, efficient energy use and partnering with the Office of Resilience and Sustainability Goals for the cities. And that
so if I can just pop in here.
Oh, yeah.
Thank
Sorry.
you, Jasmine. No, you were good. I could see that you were getting ready to get into that slide, but just for council and mayor's benefit, you know, one of the things when we started looking at this, which was approximately a year ago, it was back in November that Nicole Farini and I, she of course the head of the Office of Resilience in El Paso, began to float the idea of doing this. We were set to come forth with the city of El Paso in February or March of this year, but of course in March everything changed. So I think it's really important for council to understand that our focus has always been safety. And so as a result of that, Texas Gas Service was very sensitive to the idea that March was not going to be a good time. We really wanted to work with the city of El Paso. The city of El Paso reapproached us toward the end of the summer to say, we are now looking ahead. What does 2021 look like and beyond as we begin to kind of build back from what has happened this last year, the disruption, the massive disruption of this year. And as a part of that, that began the climate action plan. And so for Texas Gas Service, this is really kind of a parallel road where we'll be working along with our sister utilities in the city of El Paso, talking about climate action. And we believe an energy efficiency program kind of folds into that. And so it's an opportunity for us to fulfill or allow the city to fulfill those things that they put together about 2 or 3 years ago on their own plan, but which they haven't yet really started work and which they're looking to tweak now. Also, I think it's important to note that the city of Austin, which is the bulk of our Central Texas territory, is probably more along the lines of the territory for El Paso, but the income considerations are more along the lines of the RGV, which for us is 34 cities over 3 counties. And so it was really important that Jasmine and I and our team, as we were starting to talk with the city of El Paso, wanted to make that distinction to the city of El Paso, and therefore I offer that up to you as well, that we are very aware of what the income for El Paso is. And I think that that also comes from the fact that you're talking about somebody helping to build out this program who is from and of this area. So I think that that's really important moving forward as Jasmine gets ready to potentially, see this through and add to her team, that those considerations, the idea of what is happening with electric and the electric bills in El Paso, and as we start to work with new construction and home builds and the retrofit, as we start to see people having gas stubs, let's say, they're not using electricity for their dryer. Therefore, they're not making their home hot, which means they don't have to put on their air conditioner, which means you don't have additional strain on the electric grid. As we saw over the summer, we got to be 107, 110. There were areas that were having blackouts because we know right now our sister utility is not able to meet their peak demand. And so we have very open and honest conversations with them. We are never going to be able to, if you will, shift a whole population off their grid. That's not what we're looking to do. But if there is a way to bring relief to our community over the next couple of years as they try to be able to meet their peak demand as well. We believe that that's a good deal for Anthony and for the surrounding areas as well. And then if I can just further reinstate that we want to work with El Paso Water and conserve water. Again, we recognize that as we are starting to promote the tankless water heaters, that means that an El Pasoan or somebody in Anthony doesn't have to turn on their water and let it run until it gets hot. It's a waste of water. A tankless water heater, if that's going into new home construction or into retrofits and what have you, allows you to turn that water and get hot water faster. It's not just going down the drain. So again, as I shared, I came into this utility a year and a half ago, and a year ago when we started talking about this, I didn't understand why as a gas utility, we were talking about shower heads and aerators for a faucet, but I've made the connection now. And as somebody who is in El Paso and understands the importance of water as a resource, I want to be able to share that with you as well. So Jasmine has now gone through the bulk of her presentation. We're now at a part where if you all have any questions, Jasmine and myself are ready to answer them.
Mayor, Council, any questions?
Yeah, are the monies going to be spent on a first come, first served basis, or are they going to be allocated by geographical area? Going to be allocating so much for Anthony, so much for, let's say, Socorro, San Elizario, because the population of El Paso is pretty big, and we can't compete against them if that's how it's going to be allocated. I mean, you're talking almost 1 million people in El Paso and 5,000 in Anthony.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. And yes, the programs are administered first come, first served basis. What we've seen in Rio Grande Valley is that there seem to be pockets of people that will participate more. So we have in 2 counties in Rio Grande Valley, we have a greater concentration of people that make use of the low income program. And I think it's not for lack of information available. I think it has something to do with what's being championed in those areas. Boots on the ground is what I would say. But I would think that there's a good mix of in Central Texas. We have some builders that are great at submitting, applications, and then some not submitting applications at all. And it's not for lack of getting the information out. But what I would say is that the level of education and community outreach that we would provide is going to be even across the spectrum. So I've already started meeting with my PR and marketing team to look at what we can do to reach every area, what radio stations broadcast in the Anthony area or in the Clint area, and can we get ads on those stations? What can we do as far as billboards, or what can we do as far as print ad? We have some little pockets of areas in Central Texas here, and we started advertising in a smaller paper here to get the information out. So I am aware of what you're saying. I do hear what you're saying, but we do make sure that we get the information out equally.
And if I can add to that, Councilman, I think it's going to be very important that we work alongside you as well, so that once we do have our boots on the ground, myself included, and I am here based in El Paso, that we are able to get together as you're meeting with constituents, whether that be in video conference in 2021 or in person, so that we can go ahead and walk constituents through that program as well. And then again, we're currently looking at Project Bravo as being a partner in this, but we have also partnered in various ways with Project Amistad, which is currently distributing the CARES Act dollars that the city of El Paso made. We may be looking at them as well, so that we can make sure that the organizations that we're working with have that wide reach in our population and are going up into areas just like Anthony.
Also, this program sounds very familiar. Is this a renewal program or something new? Because I know those water fishing kits. I've picked up a couple of those. That's maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So I'm kind of wondering about that.
So it's very interesting that you bring this up, because again, when I was first told that we have this low flow shower heads, I said, El Paso Water did this about 10 years ago. And as I briefly mentioned, I used to be in the news. So I remembered us doing a news story about this. And I said, they also did low flow toilets, and it was the shower head thing. It was about 10, 12 years ago. So I contacted Lisa Rosendorf over at El Paso Water. She's my counterpart there. And I said, hey, did you guys have a program similar to this? Because I'm fairly certain I remember this. And she said that they did, and they had a huge demand for it. So much so it still exists. They just don't promote it as much because they found it to be a little bit overwhelming. So you can still get something like that. But in this case, we can make it, if you will, the phrase now socially distant, because we won't make you show up to get it. We'll just mail it to you. Yeah. And what's like Jasmine said, you don't have to be the owner. You can be the renter who can also get that. So that's really nice as well.
Okay.
Quick question. In regards to the way this program is funded, ideally what's going to end up happening is residents overall would see an increase to their bill, to their average gas bill. And my only thing is by them doing so, knowing where, you know, the participation in the program is very few, technically everybody would be seeing an increase in their overall cost for services, yet not a majority of them would actually take advantage or utilize the program. I mean, we see certain things here, even when it comes out to local elections, you know, food distribution and things of that nature. But with us dealing, you know, with the impact that COVID has done on a financial and economical standpoint to the residents, we have, you know, just recently last year adopted new water rates, which went up 20% the first year. They're going to increase 7% every year after that for the next 5. We went with a no new revenue tax rate this year to not really see any significant increases because we are, you know, majority, I think we're like 70%, you know, below the poverty level here in Anthony. I don't know how increasing, you know, gas rates would be beneficial to them at this point in time if, you know, a majority of them may not even utilize, you know, the program itself.
I understand where you're coming from on that, and I'd like to address it if I can. We did look at what the backdrop of this would be against the backdrop of an economic crunch that happened. And certainly when we were like literally within a week and a half of getting ready to begin these conversations with the city of El Paso was really where COVID hit. And we also saw that same week the water increase. And then there was a lot of the conversation you'll remember about El Paso Electric sale and what was going to happen. And they were having just their natural increase as well. So we were having those conversations. And at that time, just because of the cycle, it's beyond us. It's the way that the law is written. We were having our GRIP come forth. And so, you know, there was a lot of hand wringing on our side with regards to that. The conversation about 72 cents on a bill every month for somebody who may not have it, I think that that's a legit conversation. I will tell you right now that the conversations Texas Gas Service has had is that we are unlikely to have a rate increase. So I know you mentioned that El Paso Water has recently had one, and I think you quoted 20%. Texas Gas Service is not for Anthony. Yes. That's not where we are at. We are in all likelihood looking at another GRIP in 2021. So I think that there is some relief there that we are able to show as well. And really what we think is going to happen is that within the next, where it took the RGV about 4 years to get going, because we are now seeing people of all income levels staying at home and doing some improvements and doing what they can, sharing where they can, save some savings, we believe this is probably the best time for us to get this program going. In all likelihood, you know, the city of El Paso, which we'll be working with and looking at its climate action plan, would request something similar of this from us at some point. And at this point, with where the numbers are, we believe this is the most cost-effective and lowest number that we'll be able to see. And I believe even with the rate adjustment for income in Austin, I believe Austin, and Jasmine can jump in here and correct me, I think they're currently looking at $1.19, but it's taken them 20 years to get there. And so we're starting at 72 cents, and, you know, we are not looking to jump it, you know, exponentially every 2 or 3 years. So I hope that answered your question.
Did you get any feedback from El Paso and any of the other neighboring municipalities in regards to the decision that they were going with this? You know, most of the time when it comes to a lot of these situations, we kind of see what our sister municipalities do.
Yes.
And how kind of they voted on some of these items. Do you know what they did?
We have begun, so you are our second city. We have really just begun the conversation with the city of El Paso. I will tell you that I have had on the periphery conversations with the mayors or city managers of our surrounding areas. This went into executive session for the city of El Paso today. It is not showing up on their council agenda for tomorrow, but instead they will have discussed it. I don't know how that went because that was a closed session for us. I will tell you that staff is who requested this. The Office of Sustainability requested this of us. And it is our impression that they are going to recommend this to council. Now, I will tell you that I think it was also very important, and again, because I'm from El Paso, I kind of get how things go, that I think Anthony and Horizon City, San Elizario often get overlooked. It's kind of like however the city of El Paso goes, everybody else will do that. I recognize that that's how things have been done before. I don't necessarily think that it is the right approach. And therefore, I wanted to be able to present this and have Jasmine offered up as an opportunity to really give you guys the opportunity to deep dive into this and to get live answers rather than emails from us. Because I think that if a utility or another business is going to be asking the city of Anthony to look at an increase, then the least we can do is put that before you in a live way.
Absolutely, absolutely, and just the inclusion. We wanted to make sure that there wasn't an exclusion of periphery cities. So it wasn't like we looked at El Paso and said, yeah, El Paso requested this, so we're going to go with it. We looked and we said, okay, is there a possible benefit to the surrounding cities? Can we extend it to make it available to surrounding cities and at least present it to them and let them make the decision? And so that's kind of how we arrived with the list of cities that are included, and to Liz's point, why we're talking to everyone.
We also recognize the fact that if El Paso goes with this, and again, it's unknown, we're hopeful, but if they go with this and there is that outreach, that there is a possibility your constituents are going to hear those commercials and find out about it and say, hey, why not us? And so we didn't want them to feel like we snubbed that area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions, any other comments from council? Henry, anybody? Sean?
Mayor, I do have a question. Thank you for the presentation, Ms. O'Hara and Ms. King-Bush. I have a question. Can you go back to your slide number 9 on your presentation, Ms. King-Bush?
Yes, absolutely. Let me share my screen.
If you don't mind, please.
Oh, I don't mind at all. Let me. This slide right here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay.
I know you covered, the big one on that breakdown is the residential portion.
Yes.
You said about half of the budget in terms of where most of this is going to, right? In terms of the funding is for the residential portion. Now, but you kind of just touched on and kind of glossed over that it covers both existing residential and then new housing.
Yes.
But you didn't give a breakdown, because I think that's important to note for the council to know what the breakdown is in terms of existing housing and new housing.
So we pull both from the residential, so we don't have a firm breakdown. If we find that there is, for example, we talked to the mayor of Horizon City, and he was very excited about all of the new building and growth going on in Horizon City, and he felt like that would be the bulk of where the residential participation would be. So let's say there are areas experiencing growth. We don't have a hard line of delineation between the new construction and the residential retrofit. So the rebates are the same. The only difference is that for the water heaters, there's a difference in the water heaters between residential retrofit and new construction. But we don't have a firm. If we have more new construction, we can move the funds around, the fluidity between the residential program.
I guess, did you look at what the breakdown has been in Austin, for example, on retrofit and then new construction? And the reason why I'm bringing this up, Ms. King-Bush, is this. Look, if that 48% that you show projected there, if the vast majority of that 48% is for new construction, then obviously the developers are the ones that, the builders are the ones that are cashing in on these incentives as opposed to the actual residents. Yet the residents would be the ones paying for it. Is that a fair statement, or?
No, sir. So the new construction rebates are available for builders or the buyers.
Okay, but who have you historically seen take advantage of it? Has it been the builder, the developer that has cashed in on the rebate instead of the homeowner that purchased the new home?
We have both. So I won't name the builder, but there's a builder in South Austin that, for whatever reason, they have not submitted any rebates. And I know for a fact that they have had several projects that have closed because I've driven them myself. And so what I started doing was making the information available to the HOAs that were running those projects, and the buyers were taking advantage of the rebates. In Rio Grande Valley, we had a builder who built out a community, and like as soon as they got their certificate of occupancy, they submitted their application. So we provide that information to the community and the service area as much as possible without bias. We are looking. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So you don't have an exact number based on experience in another area as to who's actually taking advantage of the program. Has it been the developer, the builder, the vast majority of the time, as opposed to the homeowner buyer?
So in Central Texas, it's more of the homeowner buyer or the residential retrofit. We have large residential retrofit numbers in the Central Austin area, in the Central Texas area. In the Rio Grande Valley, it's the builders.
Okay.
And we've seen that, and I think that that's important to say that we saw that prior to the pandemic as well. The program has continued to be very strong through the pandemic as well. Is that accurate, Jasmine?
That's accurate. In fact, the Rio Grande Valley has outperformed. Central Texas has been a little slower to perform, but that's largely because a lot of what we do as outreach are in person. So we completely transformed how we engage with the customer. And now we're starting to see that greater engagement. Like, for example, we just did a dryer promo for October. So anybody who bought a new natural gas dryer, high efficiency with moisture sensor, got an additional $100 on top of the existing promotion. And that really, we saw engagement go up. And so it was so successful, we're doing it again for December.
In regards to deciding and moving forward in a certain direction with this program, or in support for or against this, when is Texas Gas looking to get an answer from the town of Anthony?
So I'll tell you, it's the same across the board for all cities that were provided a filing packet. On November 19th, that is our estimated effective date. Cities have an option to approve or do nothing, which is a passive approval. If they choose to suspend, which is more of like there's something that we may not agree with, something we may not understand, something we may want to look at changing, they can suspend. If you suspend by November or before November 19th, then that adds 90 days to the effective date, and that pushes the proposed effective date out to February 17th. Or they can choose to decline and not approve. And that's all cities across the board.
For council, considering, there's a lot of information that, we need to look at, are you gentlemen okay with tabling this item so you can each individually take a look more at the information that was provided and provide some feedback to me on, what your general idea is with this basically rate filing, and then we can, either do a special meeting or come together to discuss this more or provide an answer to Texas Gas in regards to this, or do you feel like, you all are able to move forward with making a decision tonight? And the floor is open for you, gentlemen.
Mayor, before we get into that discussion, if you would allow me, Mayor, I'm sorry to interrupt. I think that would be best left, that discussion, for the next item on the agenda, Mayor, because the way we have it listed on the agenda, as you may recall, is right now is the presentation portion, Mayor, and then we can address it on the next item. I think that would be the best protocol to follow.
That's fine. Will that wrap pretty much the presentation, ladies?
Yes, yes.
Yes, it does.
Let's go ahead and move on to item 2, discussion, consideration, and action on Texas Gas Service Company, a division of One Gas Incorporated's initial rate filing for a conservation adjustment clause tariff related to Texas Gas Service Company's proposed energy efficiency program. Mr. Palomares, go ahead.
Mayor, well, here you can continue with what you wanted the council to do. The only thing that I want to just highlight here, and again, I want to thank Ms. King Bush for a wonderful presentation, and Ms. O'Hara as well. But I want to highlight, Mayor, is that this program is not being paid for by Texas Gas Service Company. They are not paying this out of their pocket. This is going to be paid for out of the customer's pocket, the residents out of Anthony and of the whole region here, of the neighboring municipalities. They are going to be paying for this program. Okay, in other words, the program is not free. They're going to be paying for the program approximately almost $1 a month, as indicated, 72 cents per month on their bill every month. And then that's for residential customers. For the commercial customers, at least based on the worksheets that were provided by Texas Gas Service, I know they have the formula there, but it's more or less, just an average would be around $2.26 per month for the commercial customer bills. So these are the amounts that are going to be felt in the real life of individuals in the community here every month to fund these programs. They're not being, this program's not being paid for by Texas Gas Service. They're just facilitating the program, but they're not paying for it. So I just wanted to highlight that. Obviously, this is a policy decision. It's not a legal decision in terms of what you all decide. It's a policy decision for the town council to make. But I just felt it's important to highlight that point to you all. Other than that, Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you, Henry. Do I have any comments from council? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a question for Ms. Kingbush.
Yes, sir.
The slide 9 says 73 cents per month for approximately 220,000 plus residential customers. So it's not based on the volume. It's just a set fee, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is now to the council. We've done things like this in the past, but the thing that if we decide to go this route, who's going to be the town councilman who's going to champion this, get behind this, be the boots on the ground like she spoke about, and do it? We haven't done one of these for a while. We had that with the smoking ban. We had another situation with some other deals here like 2-3 years ago, but it takes time. And so who's going to be the councilman who gets behind this and says, I'm going to take the reins and I'm going to get this out to everybody and I'm going to get it done? Or is it going to be on the town to do it? That's my question.
That's a good comment, Mr. Weeks. Any comments from council?
Just to inform everyone, if we are deciding to table this item, our next council meeting, regular council meeting, will be November the 9th. That would give us also some time, as Ms. King Bush did state that the deadline was November 19th, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So we will still have time if anybody would like to table or proceed to the next council meeting.
If anything, I would like to make a recommendation to council to support tabling this item until that meeting date. That way we can have an opportunity more, to reach out and gather more information, to see how you all would like to, present this at the next meeting and ideally vote on it at that point in time.
I agree that we should table it.
I'll second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Alfaro, seconded by Councilman Garcia to table the item. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion to table this item passes 3-0.
Ben, I have a kind of a technical question for Ms. O'Hara and Ms. Kingbush. Can I ask it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If this did pass, who would be our contacts there to help us get this information out to everybody? Who would one of you be our contacts?
Yes.
The
Yes.
two of us would be.
You would, yeah. You would have to work with the two of us. Hopefully, that's not that's not a detractor.
Well, no, because the thing is you brought up the like the local radio station. Anthony doesn't have one. The local newspaper. Anthony doesn't have one. I mean,
Right.
So it has to be flyers. It has to be postcards. It has to be something that that we would have to come together and do. This program can benefit a lot of our constituent, a lot of our citizens, but it's just a matter of the time to get it out there and make them understand.
Yeah.
And taking advantage of it.
To give you just a little more idea of what it would look like from an operational standpoint, let's say it does go into effect on November 19th. They would not start collecting from the customers' bills. They would not see the charge show up until around November 25th. At which time I have, at that time, I can go ahead and place my job requisition to hire 2 staff members there. It may take a little time to get them, in place, but I would be traveling there. I'd be relying heavily on Liz and her connections and her physical presence there. And that's what we would be doing until I got someone there in place. You would always have access to me. I speak with people from Rio Grande Valley and Central Texas all the time. And I jump in wherever I can to help solve issues, create things. If there's something that doesn't fit in a box, it always ends up with me, and that's my job. I love doing that. But my goal is to get someone there who's there full time, who can jump in a car from the office and go to community events or hand out flyers. We have push cards, we have signs. So we do everything from handing out flyers to radio ads and Facebook posts. So we're familiar with working this spectrum.
And we also recognize the fact that we're not able to do some of that, interfacing. So for instance, we wouldn't be at the Anthony Flying Horse race that happens typically in the fall. We wouldn't be at the Kermes there at the church. So a lot of the stuff of what we're having to do is a little bit more distance, but we are planning to do that. And I think that that's really important. The other thing that Jasmine and I were talking about with kind of our upper level management today, in light of, the next couple of weeks getting in front of councils like yourself, is the idea that we're nervous about coming in front of you on a day when we know that we're under a mandatory curfew, that our hospitals are maxed out right now, and that things are not looking good in El Paso. And so we have floated the idea, and Mr. Palomares, this may be of interest for you potentially, of whether this gets passed, being open to the idea of changing that date on the filing packet so that it would not go into effect until 2021. So essentially having council pass that now, but instead of having it come on a bill in November 26, approximately a week after that filing date, having that come in January. We believe that may give some cities a little bit of relief as well, as El Paso County is in the process of trying to get a hold of what's happening with our COVID numbers right now. So I hope that's helpful as well.
And just to correct, it would go into effect, we wouldn't collect until January.
So that's something to consider as well, we would hope.
Absolutely.
All righty, thank you very much, ladies, for taking the time to present this to us. We definitely have a lot to go over and look into, but this program sounds really good. But I think that is very key, is the timing of when the rates go into effect, and making sure that we have individuals here and the opportunity to be able to help, push that information, like Mr. Weeks said, by having, people here that, are basically going to be the boots on the ground.
And feel free to reach out if you have questions, to reach out to Ms. O'Hara or myself. I'm available to answer them.
Awesome. Thank you very much for all your help.
Thank you all very much. Have a good evening. Stay safe.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, moving on to item 3, discussion, consideration, and action on an interlocal agreement for the mutual aid and assistance between the town of Anthony, Texas, and the Anthony Independent School District. Mr. Palomares.
Mayor, this is just an interlocal agreement between the school district and the town for in the event that each needs to share resources, staff, help each other out. It's just formalized. It's just to formalize what you all have already had in place. I reviewed it, and from a legal standpoint, it looks good. So that's all I have.
Superintendent Troncoso reached out to me and sent this over just because of the fact that we're both funded, through the taxpayer in regards to utilizing equipment, staff, and times that, has at times, taken place. We want to make sure we cover, all our bases, and, their attorney recommended that we set up an interlocal agreement to cover, those instances that we do share or utilize each other's resources. That way we make sure, everybody's covered and there's no issues with that. So it's just a formality, pretty straightforward. Like Henry said, he had an opportunity to take a look at this. I think it would be beneficial for us to move forward with it and send it to the school so they can put it on their agenda as well.
Hey, Ben, you said this was brought to us by the school?
Correct, sir.
Okay, so give me a couple examples of what we're using of the schools.
Well, there were, I think Chief was pointing out a couple items, but unfortunately he was not able to make it tonight. But just recently, they had COVID testing and things that they had set up for their faculty and staff. And because we had instances here in the town with potential exposure, instead of having to go to, some of the testing sites out in El Paso, the school openly invited, accepted some of our staff members and went ahead and, got them pretty much, tested for COVID, basically through the school district. So those were some of the instances when we utilized, some of their resources. And then most recently, also with the COVID, is they had the school, thoroughly disinfected by one of the COVID, cleaning, crews that have been coming out, and they ended up sharing those individuals and sent them over to also disinfect and sterilize the town hall for us, if I'm correct, right, Norma?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
I just wanted to make sure where this was coming from. Was it coming from the school? Was it coming from Chief? It's worded in a way that it's coming from us, so that's why.
No, it actually came from the superintendent. That's just something that he was discussing with his attorney, and his legal department actually recommended that we do this. So they put it together in regards to presenting it to the town, and if it's something that we wanted to move forward with, mutually, we would approve it, and then they would move forward with presenting it to the school board.
Okay. Thank you.
And do I have a motion on the table or any other further discussion?
I motion to approve.
Okay. I have a motion made by Mr. Alfaro. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
seconded by Councilman Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 3-0. Ms. Norma, would you email this after I sign it to Mr. Troncoso so he can get that on the school board's agenda?
Yes, sir, definitely will.
Thank you. Moving on to item 4, discussion, consideration, and action on a potential prorated sewer rate revolving around closing and opening of water accounts. As you guys know, we have received an email and some concerns from a resident, Ms. Carol Runk, in regards to, the way she was charged for sewer. When we looked closely at it, I had several meetings with Norma, and at this point, we were trying to reach out to Nelisa, who put together the rate study. But as you guys know, according to the rate study plan, the sewer rate is basically averaged out based on the winter months, and it's a set fee. It's no longer based on the amount of water usage. And that was done mainly because the town of Anthony has no way of metering what goes into the sewer. And as you guys know, that's something that they brought up in the rate study. Unfortunately, we are a small town, and that's some of the headaches that we get and growing pains, with establishing rates, certain protocols, and looking at how we overall take charge and direction with the way the town moves forward with its utilities. We invited Ms. Runk to be part of the meeting so she can share her thoughts on it. But basically, I wanted to bring this up to you so, we make everybody including Mrs. Runk, that unfortunately, because at the time we don't have a policy that addresses, establishing or factoring in what the charges should be specifically for a sewer rate, I would be doing a disservice to the town of Anthony by granting special consideration for one individual in general and going above what was approved or allowed by council for me to do by adjusting or coming up with our own rate for sewer to charge. So we did adjust the garbage because the garbage is easily factored in by the amount of times that the garbage is serviced versus the amount, that the residential, the individual at the residence pays, which was already taken care of. But at this moment in time, unfortunately, I was not and am not able to do anything about the sewer until we move forward with establishing a updated policy or figuring out how to set up a specific pro rate, for sewage, or a sewer rate, when the resident in fact isn't there for the entire duration of the billing cycle. So that's why I wanted to present that to council. That way legally, I'm not doing anything under the table for transparency purposes. And we also move forward in a unified direction on how we're going to be addressing, the sewer rate when it comes to these specific circumstances. But Ms. Runk, I'll go ahead and leave you the floor. You have 2 minutes, ma'am. Thank you for joining us, by the way.
Thank you. I'm sorry if you guys are seeing green flashing behind me. I don't have the foggiest notion what that is. Mayor Romero and council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. We have left your city, so it's not about just me. How many people leave your city and are charged these fees that aren't using the services? I understand when we're there to charge us, and I understand policies are in place, but just because there's a policy in place that's not effective or beneficial or, in my opinion, equal to everybody, doesn't mean it can't be changed. Policies are meant to be changed. I did not realize the town of Anthony is 70 cents per property. If somebody moves from one house in Anthony to another house in Anthony, do you realize they're going to be double charged that month for sewer? And your reason is it's a policy. It's a policy. Policies don't mean it's right. And we're gone. And as I said, So, you can't beat City Hall all the time, but I'm going to let people of Anthony know what the policy is, because obviously until I mentioned it, nobody knew. Our realtor was like, oh my goodness gracious, do you know how many homes, I've sold in Anthony? And nobody's brought this up. So I understand, just because you guys didn't know that was a policy, and I understand the mayor before was not trying to be polite in this. Some of his policies were not productive for the city, and maybe this is just one of them that slipped under the table. But again, my 2 minutes are probably up, but just because it's a policy doesn't mean it's right. And if it needs to get on the ballot next time, so the people that live in Anthony can know that maybe this needs to change.
Thank you for your time, Ms. Sprunk. I appreciate you, sitting through the long presentation from Texas Gas to speak during your 2 minutes. One of the things I do want to reiterate, there is nothing that is done here with ill intention. If something is brought up to our attention in regards to maybe a way that, a certain policy is being done, that is the exact reason why it is on the agenda tonight, is so I can get direction from council legally to take a specific direction, and either figuring out through our rate consulting firm on how we can set up something that prorates the sewer for individuals that are transitioning into or out of their homes. But the overall rate study, the way it's charged, will stand because it was done by the consulting firm. But you did bring up an issue in regards to the way it's being charged in a transition period when a resident is leaving at the beginning or, at the start of the month. And that is something that we do need to look at addressing, because I am in total agreement with you. I feel that it is a bit unfair. And, before, I make a decision or move forward with, supporting a certain policy that, we get full transparency, we raise concerns about the issue, and we come up with a formal, remedy through council on how we're going to address that situation. And ideally by the next meeting, have some type of an answer and policy ready to move forward with implementing. That way we no longer see this situation happen. And then also, so at that point in time, we can also, be able to either refund or adjust accordingly the bill that you were billed for the sewer for that month. Most definitely.
Council and Ben. So I kind of heard about this and brought more attention to it. Joe and Louis, if you're not aware of what happened, here's how it works. And I might not use the exact numbers, so I'm not using the RUNCs as the example, but here's how it works. Our meters are read 22nd through the 25th. Somebody leaves the town of Anthony, they sell a house, they move on the 29th or 30th. Instead of getting billed for 4 days of sewer, they get billed for a whole month of sewer. I mean, I think what surprised me is common sense would say we would have a prorated policy in place. Not that the person gets charged for the whole month. I don't know why the real estate trend is that everybody closes at the end of the month. People can close whenever they want, but 90% of real estate deals closed that last week. And then, so that's the one issue, that we don't have a prorated service in place. We do for water, because water gets read, and then when they go out, they read it again. But sewer, we just bill for a whole month. And then basically either the person that's in that house then gets charged for sewer too, so we're charging it twice, or they don't get charged for sewer because it's already been paid. So either way, it's not right. And we need to kind of figure out so then the new people that move in don't have a history and don't have a winter formula. So I don't know how we bill those people either. So say a family of 2 moves out and a family of 8 moves in. all right? And so you got a family of 2 with lower sewer, but a family of 8 getting the basic rate or maybe even that rate, but they're using 4 times as much water. So I just wanted to bring this to you guys' attention because it was, to me, it was kind of like we don't prorate, and that's where I was surprised because it doesn't make sense to charge somebody for 30 days of water when they use, you know, sewer when they use it for 3. So that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah, and that's definitely most valid point. That's why we're bringing this up as an agenda item, because I think it does need to be looked at a little bit more in depth. But also what we started doing here administratively is, you know, because of the fact that we are a smaller town, we still individually have to go out and read meters. So even the billing cycle is not consistent. It changes. Norma and Everett have had time to look at that. That way we can get a little bit more consistency on when the actual billing takes place. And then also, you know, taking the time to put together a pamphlet so we can educate the residents on not only, you know, when the billing takes place, but how the overall billing cost is broken down. That way, you know, they're aware if they're going to go ahead and let's say, for example, move out on a certain date, they can already reach out, you know, to our administrative staff, Norma and Valerie, beforehand to kind of start planning and seeing when they're going to end up leaving. That way we don't get that extra bill that comes in, you know, the following month, because we are basically pretty much in arrears where we're a month behind when the bill actually comes out. So those are some of the things that we're looking at streamlining and making sure that we take the time to educate, you know, the residents and the public about. I think at this point, you know, we are going to wait to hear back from NELISA in regards to the sewer rate and see if there is a way that we can prorate the sewer when you're moving, you know, into a house until we establish that 3-month average. And also, you know, if by chance, you know, close your bill on time and you get billed for a partial month, a way for us to factor in and come up with a type of pretty much an equation, as you would say, to factor in and figure out how to appropriately charge the sewer. Any comments from council?
Ben, I know we need to talk to our consultant to figure out how to charge new people, but I don't know, do we necessarily need to wait to talk to her to figure out that we want to have a prorated policy in place and to get that ball rolling?
Well, we in regards to setting up an actual cost, yes. But Norma and I are already working on figuring out, you know, what the rate would be. Remember, because of the fact that we don't rate and we don't meter the sewage, that's the challenge. So we want to make sure that, you know, what is charged is fair, first of all, and, you know, that it's basically, you know, in the long term, not a loss to the town, but also not something that is unreasonable for the resident or basically the customer for the water. Unless, like I said, if you guys want to move forward with putting up the capital to install meters to be able to meter the sewage, then that would solve all the problems and we just come up with a sewer rate, you know? But when it comes to these types of situations, unfortunately, we're not all professionals when it comes to, you know, figuring the cost out and stuff for sewer. So the reason why we reach out to the rate consultants is because they're the professionals in figuring that out. And I think if we would have known this was the situation beforehand, we would have been able to ask those questions when they did the presentation to begin with. So right now, I think, you know, just reaching out to them and seeing what their thoughts are, what other municipalities that are like Anthony are doing, and seeing if it's something that's feasible, you know, on both ends to be able to adopt and move forward with. So basically, this was basically just, you know, an item, you know, to discuss the situation and also to give Ms. Runk the opportunity to voice what her experience and thoughts were with the sewage rate and, you know, what happened in her situation as she was moving out and closing her account here in Anthony. So we want to give everybody, you know, the opportunity to be heard and to discuss this agenda item in a timely manner, but also, you know, for transparency purpose, let you guys know that, you know, we are looking and moving forward with coming up and putting together a policy that addresses this. That way it's fair and transparent. Any other questions? Any other comments? Ms. Runk, any thoughts? Any final thoughts? Okay. You're still on mute now.
She's muted. You're muted, Carol.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I said, you know, thank you for the opportunity to speak. And as I said in my emails, my husband said you can't fight City Hall. So whatever your decision is. But as I said in the past, I will go and just let the residents of Anthony know that this is a situation. We're gone. You know, we're gone. You know, the $90 isn't going to break us, you know, but I'm thinking of the 70% of low income people in our town. And if they move from one house to another house in Anthony, they're double charged for trash and sewer. $90 a month. And yes, will that impact your city? Definitely. Because I can only imagine how long it's been going on and how many people have been charged. So thank you so much. And I will let you go. Thank you for letting me attend.
Thank you. Ben, can I say something?
Sure.
I'm glad that Ms. Rugg brought this to our attention. Again, like I said, common sense tells me if somebody uses something for 3 days, they don't get charged for 30. I would like to make a motion at least tabling this so that we can have the policy at least put in place for the next meeting for at least our current customers of how we will prorate their bill. If it's going to, I think that'll also help speed us up in getting the answers to how to charge the next person. So, you know, but right now, you know, people close at the end of the month and on when they buy and sell houses, and they can't close a week early just so they don't have to pay a month of sewer that they don't use.
Now, one thing that I want to clarify, guys, and, you know, Ms. Runk, you know, already disconnected the call. But, you know, sometimes when individuals, you know, do get upset about some things, they do voice their concerns, their opinions. But keep in mind, guys, just remember, this is not an everyday situation. There's only been maybe less than what I would count 5 instances where this has actually happened. And keep in mind, we used to base the sewer rate based on what the average consumption of water was. When we adopted the new rates, which just happened at the start of this last fiscal year, and to only have 5 individuals is not, or less than 5 individuals is not, you know, a conspiracy. It's not, you know, something taken advantage of. Basically, it's now something that, you know, has caught our attention because the frequency of it happening is going up. So we're doing everything that we can do to address, acknowledge, and handle the situation in a timely manner. So, you know, before it goes on to this, you know, oh, how many years it's been doing this? Just started last October, guys. And it's been less than 5 people that we have counted that have had issues with this that we need to look at. And part of that problem was because of the fact of when they decide to close their accounts. And that's where we're looking to address it on our behalf in establishing and sending out that policy so they know when's the ideal time to disconnect their services. That way they don't see the additional bill, because if they do disconnect it in a timely manner, they ideally wouldn't be seeing any additional charges for the following month, because either, you know, we can prorate and set up a certain amount of water usage and sewer usage while they're cleaning up the house and getting it ready for the next seller. You know, it's one of the things that we had to address with, you know, the housing authority, remember, when they were switching from tenants. So I think this is an easy fix. But, you know, for transparency purposes and to do the right thing, the way we have established, you know, the policies and protocols to do, is I'm bringing this to your guys' attention and letting you know that we're working on this. That way for the next meeting, you know, we bring up some of the situations and instances where this has taken place and figure out and put together a resolution on how we address it. That way it is no longer an issue. But there are a lot of things that are, you know, factored into this that are taking, you know, the kind of the perfect storm that made this instance kind of happen, which is good that it did, right? Because we're addressing a situation that should be addressed, but by no means or by any chance were we, you know, openly taking advantage of people. Was this something that was, you know, going on for years? Because like I said, the policy, the new water rate structure was just implemented this past October, and we have had less than a handful of instances where this took place. So we'll get it going. We'll figure it out. We'll get with Elisa, and then, you know, we should have something for next meeting to present to you guys. And hopefully, you know, if we move forward with it and it's something that's ideal, you know, we solved another one of these situations. Everybody good?
So can I move to
That's
table
good.
to the next meeting?
Yes, sir.
I'll move to table to the next meeting.
I have a motion made by Mr. Weeks to table the item. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Garcia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to table, Ms. Norma, to next meeting.
Yes, sir, thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving on to item 5, presentation by Robert Lopez related to lease option contract and town's pending eviction proceedings. Ms. Norma, do you have Mr. Lopez available?
Yes, sir, Mr. Lopez was able to join. Mr. Lopez, are you there? Hello?
He's muted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
The floor is all yours, sir. Go ahead and basically, I guess, Mr. Henry, do you kind of want to give a little, you know, prequel discussion to, you know, this agenda item, or should we just give Mr. Lopez the floor?
Mayor, I think it's a presentation by him. That's how it's worded. So I think we should just give him the floor if you would allow that.
Sounds good, sir. Go ahead, Mr. Lopez. Thank you for joining us.
Can you guys hear me there? Yeah, okay. Just want to say, you know, first and foremost, thank you for taking the time to hear me out. I know we've had some stuff here and there. We got a notice on Monday in regards to an eviction. So just want to reach out, I guess. I know you guys had made a motion in the last meeting in regards to this matter. I know we've had, like I said, some issues, some delays, some past due balances in the past. But, you know, going and thinking over, I talked a little bit to Enrique and the mayor as well. You know, just in regards to my side of the story. And that's not really my side of the story. It's just, you know, just in general. You know, we've had some fallbacks financially, you know, with payment histories. And I know even that water issue that we had earlier in the year. So basically what it's really coming down to is, you know, I'm going to speak for myself, but I mean, this is just speaking on behalf of everybody in my family and everything. You know, we just thought that it was a bit of a drastic measure to, you know, present an eviction notice without any, you know, previous, like, I guess not necessarily notices, but, you know, in regards to like, hey, you know, not so much that our past dues were disregarded, that we ignored it. You know, we've been trying to keep up with the payments. We've made several payments, you know, throughout the year. Whenever the balance was first presented to me, I think it was like at 15,000 or so. It kind of caught me off guard. I sat down with my secretary because it kind of seemed like it was a lot. So going back to the paperwork, she told me, she's like, you know, we've been trying to get balance spreadsheets of where the payments have been going. And I thought, I will be honest, I thought that there had been no payments made for quite some time. After going back through it, through the spreadsheets, you know, we found, you know, that I was knowing that we have been making payments ever since. I mean, continuously. I know we've skipped a couple, but we've made double payments on some months. We had run into an issue like this, I want to say maybe like 3 years ago, maybe, or 4 years ago. Same thing had happened. We had fallen behind a few payments. We were able to bring that balance up to zero current. And more so, really, what the issue was then, and some of the issue that was this time, there was payments that we had made that were not posted. So my secretary and the secretary at that time, they both sat down, and that's how we were. I think at that time there was like 4 payments that were not made, or that had not been posted. And even this time around, there's three payments that we found that had not been posted to the account. So like I said, it's not so. We're trying to do our best, to get everything caught up, whether it's the payments on the property, and of course that water bill, which we had also proposed to you guys to see if you guys would be able to do a payments on that one. And I think we got a notice saying that you guys couldn't do payments on it, because we were trying to go through our insurance, and our insurance took a long time to delegate whether they would be able to cover it or not. And at the end, they weren't able to cover that water leak whenever it happened here. So really, just what I'm coming down to is, as most of you guys know, I've been here at this property for 8 years now. We paid close to $100,000 in the property. And really, where I stand on this is like, we're not just renting. This contract took in place, for purchasing the property. So for to have an 8-year history on here, and then for some mishaps here and there, running a business, it's not easy. It may seem like it's running smooth even through this pandemic. I'm grateful that I'm still able to function, but we're not working at 100% capacity. So there's and that's right now the pandemic is just one of the steps, right? There's been many things along the road, trying to run a business, trying to run it the way it should be, taking care of priorities. And there's really, like I said, really what I'm here for is just to hear me out and see, I've committed. I told the mayor, that even though there's a contract in place, because we're trying to buy the property. That is a plan. I can commit to even paying, double what it is that we're paying now to get out of this faster. I've talked to my dad. We've sat here, try to put a plan together. But I know that first and foremost, we need to clear out that balance, which, I'm willing to do whatever it needs to be done to be able to, be back at zero.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for your presentation. At this point in time, I think council will move forward with going into executive session. If you don't have anything else to add, to go ahead and discuss, what you presented today, and basically to come out and see what the overall decision will be on that eviction process. Okay. So Ms. Norma Gonzalez, if you want to go ahead and either place them in a waiting room, that way we can go ahead and stop recording. And we'll basically, I'll announce it now that the city council will go into a closed executive session pursuant to section 551.071, consultation with attorney of the Texas Government Code, to seek the advice, consult, and discuss with its attorney about pending or contemplated litigation. And the open meeting will be reconvened following the closed executive session, at which time, if any, action will be considered. And we are going into closed executive session at 8:11 p.m.
Yes, sir. Just for the record, we'll be recording the meeting to reconvene from executive. Go ahead, Mayor.
All right. Going back, we are reconvening from executive session at 8:45 p.m. where we will be discussion, consideration, and action with regard to the Town of Anthony's lease option contract with Robert Lopez related to the town's property municipally identified as 100 West Rainbow Drive in Anthony, Texas, 79821, and with regard to the town's pending eviction proceedings. Just for the record, there was no action taken in executive session. First off, Mr. Lopez, I want to start off by thanking you for taking the opportunity to come out and join us in this meeting. I do want to say council did take a lot of time in discussing a lot of the items that you presented and have moved forward with opening, or I'd like to make give availability for there to be a motion on the table in regards to this item. And do I have a motion in regards to item 8 with the discussion, consideration, and action to the Town Anthony's lease option contract with Robert Lopez?
Okay, I'll go ahead and motion to proceed with eviction proceedings due to chronic and late rental payments. History of Mr. Robert Lopez on the rental property.
I have a motion made by Councilman Garcia. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a second made by Councilman Louis Alfaro. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries 3-0. My sincerest apologies, Mr. Lopez. Our attorney will be in contact with you guys to discuss this item and see where we will move forward from here. Okay?
Mr. Lopez, you're on mute.
Can you hear me there?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay, so from this, I mean, once again, thank you for your time. And obviously at this point, then I can seek legal advice, right, as far as litigation and all that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much, sir. You have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving forward to departmental reports for streets. As you guys know, I'll let Everett touch base on it, but ideally they were supposed to pave the rest of Poplar Street tomorrow, but due to the inclement weather, it is not ideal to lay down hot asphalt when it's below 45 degrees. So they are going to postpone the paving of that addition of the rest of that project until the weather clears up. Mr. Jaquez?
Just like you said, Mr. Mayor, we had a little meeting today with the contractors, and they were finishing the final grade, but since we have some rain and some cold weather forecast, for the area, would up to it'd be ideal for us not to do the hot mix, and the reason why, because the hot mix, it would not bond perfectly at a temperature below 45 degrees, and you all know tomorrow we're gonna have a low temperature, so we postponed it for hopefully Thursday if the weather permits. And just to let you guys know, I mean, we have some traffic go through the area. The area is still closed up and still under construction, but I see a lot of traffic go out there and making it sometimes unsafe. And you've been out there yourself, Mayor, and you've seen how much traffic we get out there. So please, for the public, it's still a construction zone. We're still working, So like I said, please only for, really true traffic to go out there, please.
Thank you, Everett. And something I also want to touch base with council. Remember, we approved the additional funds for the entranceway to the park. Couple of things that we did notice, and we're going to touch on it maybe later on once we have an opportunity to reach Mr. Baca. But we had an issue where, the contract, was a small oversight on our engineer's behalf. but they're remedying the situation where they paved and put a curb a little bit about halfway through somebody else's driveway. We paid for the whole project to be done up to Kelwood, but in reality, the Barrett's house is the last household on that street. So it would make no sense leaving that section of sidewalk unpaved. The other thing too is if they're paving the sidewalk, we looked at what we could do streetwise to kind of, patch it up and fix it up. So we got a proposal for about 17 grand on getting that section of roadway kind of not, I wouldn't say an overlay, but they are going to kind of pull out some of the old asphalt. They'll compact it and do the asphalt and the sidewalks. The only thing is that, we did a survey and it's obvious that Mr. Baca's property was encroaching on our right of way. So we did send him a letter after we got the survey done that he was encroaching because he needs to move it. He said he'd move it in a week. But, we need to make sure, he responds to our email. We did send him another one and we have not heard back from him yet. If not, our guys are going to end up pulling that out and then we're going to bill him for having to take it out. Second is we're going to have another agenda item later on that's going to discuss an alleyway encroachment. We have a 7-foot alleyway in between the Barrett's household to his property line. Or at least his section of property there, and he ended up building on it and he completely took over the alley. So we need to see if there's any record, of the town vacating the alleyway because of the fact that there are still active utilities running through it, or if in fact, he compensated or bought that, land from the town. Those are things that we're going to have to address and look into, but that was something that we did discover with the survey that was done. And, that's one of the things the engineer pointed out that we need to look into. Also, in regards to the entrance rate to Richard White, the municipal park in Anthony. As you guys know, it's pretty in bad shape. We did end up getting the guys to come out. They're going to, for that additional funding that we approved of, what was it, like 20-something thousand, Everett?
Correct, sir. $26,000, sir.
26,000. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the 20,000 that was approved by that to pave the entranceway to the Richard White, the municipal park. That way it's cleaned up. They're going to, lessen the gap on how wide that roadway actually is. They're going to get some compaction. They're going to set up a little roadway, and then we're going to pay the additional 6,000 from the streets line item that we have budgeted for this year. And then the 17,000 that we got for that extra sidewalk and roadway by the Circle K is we're going to get that from the streets line item that we budgeted for this year. So everything is pretty much within budget. And if you guys haven't had an opportunity to go out there to Poplar Street, it's starting to look up real good. A lot of the residents were complaining about it, but now when they're kind of seeing what the fruits of that labor is, everybody that we know there on the block is really happy with the way the street's turning out. Other than that, that's it for streets. Everything's still moving forward and looking on the up and up with FM 1905. Other than that, after that, we are submitting and already getting approved for the 6th Street to Magdalena. We're just going to have to make sure we address the water and everything like we did with this project and a little bit sooner than later. And Everett and these guys are already on track with that, and they'll get coordinated with Gilbert in regards to when to get started with the taps and whatnot. But anything else, Everett, that you'd like to add to streets?
No, and just to let you guys know, we're gonna have brand new signs and for school signs, and new speed hump as well on Poplars for the school zone. With we also have a brand new ADA ramps.
Cool. Moving on to Parks and Recreation, Mr. Jaquez.
On the parks, we haven't pretty much the parks are closed right now, but there's people that still utilize the Corporal Enrique Miramontes Park. But everything else looks great. We're just keeping up with the irrigation. We turned the irrigation action, as a matter of fact, off for the freeze. We want to prevent all the, from any breakage, any lines freezing, preventing any future leaks. Okay, just to let you know. That's about it in the parks.
And we did have a departmental meeting. I have had the opportunity to sit down with my different departments, with our different departments at the early start of this fiscal year. And, they are on track on what the goals and expectations are for this year, aside from the daily duties. But these guys are going to be looking to get phase 1 done on that Wildcat Park project. So, they'll be laying down some cement, irrigation, and there has been thoughts of either doing artificial sod or artificial play, just because it's more cost effective. And then we have some guys within the department that, can get a really good deal for the square footage of that stuff that we may look into, that we'll present to council. But we do have that money budgeted for it under, park repairs and maintenance and structures. And then we'll go from there. The guys, as they know, parks are closed. We did close, soccer fields are closed. I'm going to see, we have a meeting with the judge on the 30th to go over his recent ordinance and declaration a little bit more in depth, but we did get the actual documentation of the ordinance forwarded to us yesterday. I forwarded that to Chief, and we'll probably be forwarding that as well to Henry if Chief hasn't done it yet, just to make sure that we are within all legal means here as a smaller entity within that ordinance. Other than that, I don't have anything to add. For police and fire, Chief, like I said, was unable to make it. He doesn't have anything major to add, but to make sure that, through the direction of the county judge, and Governor Abbott, when he addressed what was going on with El Paso, it's basically because it was due to lack of enforcement. I know at the beginning of this, the overall intent with all the declarations and emergency declarations were to focus on education. But now that that's all they were doing, I guess people just felt that they weren't taking it serious and that nothing was going to happen. So they kind of just started disregarding the educational standpoint from the COVID requirements and recommendations. So now, as you guys know, even on that documentation, it stated it's full on enforcement. So there's no more, there's no education, there's no talking about it. Everybody should be aware of the guidelines now. It's been out since, the start of March when they set them out. So now they're just going to be focusing on enforcement and handing out citations. Some of our local restaurants and food stops have been already cited, and that, our local PD assisted and was present for it, but this was all handled by the marshals and the sheriff's department. So they're not kidding around, guys. This time full on around, including the curfew that is in place now at 10 p.m. till 5 a.m. Unless you have a valid excuse or note on there, they're going to be issuing citations if they catch you out during those times and not, taking care of either the essential activities, which they are recommending has to be done by individually, one person. You can't have your family, your aunts, uncles, and children out there with you if you're out there running these essential errands. So keep that in mind, and we'll keep you posted, and I'll let you know, what happens with the judge on the 30th. Any other comments, questions on that?
I have one, Ben. How about for Halloween? Are we off for it? No Halloween. Okay, good. I just want to make it public so New Mexico doesn't have, they outlawed all that. So if we don't say anything, you're going to have all those kids over here.
So it's at this point, and that's what we're going to go over on the 30th. It might be a last minute call. We did kind of let on the judge know, even the fire marshal let them know that, hey, we've kind of been out of the loop with this stuff just because they haven't been sending us the emails, ideally like they used to. They take action and then we get the stuff like a day or two later, which we were kind of in disagreement with. We didn't appreciate that, and we'd like it a little bit more, to be forthcoming and upfront with it before it happens, so we know, what we're going to look at enforcing. But the recommendation and stuff is not to be giving out candy this year. So, we should not have any, trick-or-treaters, and because the curfew is at 10, ideally there should be nobody out on the streets after 10 o'clock. And in reality, nobody should be handing out candies in the neighborhood. So even though I didn't see any specific verbiage in regards to making it illegal. Their recommendation is to not allow any trick-or-treating or not support or give out candies or anything like that, which is a bummer because I love Halloween and it was supposed to be on the weekend this time, which is like the first ever. But I mean, it is what it is.
Ben, can I add something to this?
Yes, sir.
A lot of people call me, message me, whatever, stating that they seen somebody without a mask at Walgreens, or they seen a family here, and then they're like, "What are you going to do about it?" And I'm like, "Well, when did it happen? It happened 4 hours ago." You know, so the people need to kind of know that they need to call the police and they need to be proactive. If they see somebody doing something they're not supposed to, they can't tell us after the fact. It's too late.
You are right on that, Sean. One of the things that we are going to bring up in the meeting on Monday that he's going to address, I know it is a talking point, is the mask or the mask mandate. Unfortunately, due to, you know, HIPAA regulations, if an individual is at health risk and poses issues by wearing a mask, they are not legally required to wear a mask. And it is also illegal for, you know, staff at the Walgreens or individuals to basically, you know, ask them about their medical history. You know, their ideal thoughts are, you know, if you come in without a mask, they're refusing you service, which is within their right as a business. So that's the way they set up. But in no way, shape, or form can any business out there require or make or force an individual to wear a mask. They can only refuse service to them if they in fact are not wearing one, which is a whole bunch of other issues that kind of go into that, which why we're going to try and talk about it a little bit more in depth on Friday. But from what I heard, that was, you know, the legal standpoint on it. They're just kind of asking everybody to be aware and conscientious. And if you can wear a mask, please do so outside, you know, when you're out there at the stores and things like that. So, you know, that's how we'll address that one. It gets a little touchy right there. But moving on to water and sewer, Mr. Jaquez.
And on the water, sir, the well, I spoke with Mark Sanchez from Park Hill, and they set up the part, but like I said last time, we're trying to get as fast as we can, because with all the COVID now, with all these cases now, it's gonna probably delay a little bit more, but everything's going fine. And tomorrow we are grabbing arsenic samples. Hopefully, it will be good results like we had the other day. So hopefully, be okay. Just to let you know, we're having grabbing samples, arsenic samples, the color samples tomorrow. Okay.
Sounds good, sir. Moving on to courts, Mr. Palomares, Ms. Gonzalez, do you have anything to add?
Yes, sir. I had the total collected between October the 12th to the 23rd was $1,235.49 for warrants. The court hearings were taken place telephonically, and the attorney dockets were via Zoom. The next court hearings are going to be November the 4th, November 18th, and November 25th. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Palomares?
No, Norma, I have nothing to add, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Henry. Moving on to finance. Ms. Gonzalez, anything to add? We have been in contact with the auditor. They are working diligently on 2018, 2019. We did look at the current chart of accounts, and all department heads are aware now that we are no longer referencing the old budget line items. We are now on 100% the new chart of accounts, so we can keep track of everything, follow up, do everything accordingly, and just, you know, due diligence on everybody's, you know, behalf on all the budgeting and accounting principles. Anything, Ms. Norma, that you'd like to add?
Yes, sir. I would like to add that our accountant has also put in place the new QuickBooks desktop. This is going to facilitate to have the accountability for all the new just the line items that were approved on the budget, and he is entering everything daily. That'll be awesome.
All right. Moving on to administration, I pretty much just based on the street items, on the COVID situation. As you guys know, let me see real quick. I'm trying to pull up my email. Most of the time here, it was concerning, you know, even amongst the high numbers of COVID cases. You know, when we looked at Anthony, we were always, you know, ideally really well with the amount of COVID cases. I think on a max case or worst case scenario, we only had like 15 cases. But as of right now for you guys, just so I can let you know, even though we have a winter storm update, the last that we saw, let me see, sorry guys, for the COVID update, which was 8:46 a.m. I think Anthony now has a total of 47 active cases here in the community. I did reach out to one of the representatives of Anthony, New Mexico, and they do have a lot as well. And what we're trying to do is look at the zip code, you know, between us and kind of the Vinton area towards Valley Chili. But these 47 is here in town, guys. So make sure that you're thoroughly disinfecting your hands, wearing your face mask. As of now, because of the high increase in numbers, I am letting you know that I will be shutting town hall again. So, you know, Wednesday, we're closing our doors to the public, guys, and we're going to be continuing to process payments and stuff over, you know, through the Dropbox. We should be getting those new kiosks in place. I was trying to wait until then, but because of this, the sudden increase in the cases, I didn't want to put anybody here at risk. And since we are a central hub for all the, you know, elderly residents and stuff that come and pay their water bills and stuff, we just, you know, we want to make sure that we minimize exposure. So, you know, we're shutting it down. We're still at the same manning table and hours that we did when we were during COVID for our administrative growth. But everything's pretty much been functioning properly. Everything's been going well. So hopefully I don't anticipate this to be too long, but one of the concerns is, guys, you know, when you look at it, is we started off with like 4,000 cases last week, and now we're over 11,000. So, I mean, this is getting worse than it did when it first started in March. So just keep an eye out. If you guys need anything, reach out to us. If there's any ideas or anything you'd like to do or follow up on, maybe, you know, local judge had put out, let us know. But, you know, if I'm correct, Henry, right, we still hadn't ended the emergency declaration. It's still been pretty much in place. So we'll make the calls and do the things as the situation arises. But for right now, just for exercise purposes, I'm leaving the Arroyo Park open. I may at this point end up closing Corporal Enrique Miramontes and Arroyo if the numbers keep going up, or if we see too many individuals gathering out there and just hanging out instead of, you know, working out or having, you know, taking the pets out for exercise. All righty. Any other comments from council? Anybody else? Thank you guys for taking the opportunity. I know it was a long meeting, but, you know, it was a lot of good information put out there. I'm glad we all, you know, I'm glad of the decisions that, you know, came up and the outcomes of these agenda items. So the next regular council meeting is scheduled at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, November 9th, 2020. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 9:09 p.m. Thank you guys and have a great evening. Thank you, Henry. It's going to be cold out, so you guys stay warm.
Stay warm. See you guys tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Have a good one.
See you tomorrow.